Hey everyone, Charles from Orbis. Very excited to do this session with you today. Very short intro about myself, and then let's go to directly into Orbis. Previously, I worked over a decade now. It's been a very fast time, but I worked mainly in Web2 social. So I worked at Meta, it was Facebook back in the days, for several years, and also TikTok. So I kind of worked in this space of the boom of social when it started a few years ago, and I'm very happy to be in this space right now. We are all trying to face very complicated challenges of our daily lives, like social is part of our daily lives, and we created all this in different conviction or values, and I want to express that in the same time that I'm sharing what you can build with it. So first I will do a very short intro about Orbis and what we do, and then I will go with a very specific piece of codes that I wanted to share, and also some demos and open source codes that we have. So I have first a quick presentation of Orbis. It's gonna be very short. I like short presentations, so hope it's gonna be interesting, at least to get an intro of what we do. So what is Orbis? Orbis is a social infrastructure. What basically we enable is various solutions such as an SDK, and also infrastructure logics or tooling around our SDK to make it even simpler for users to build social features. So we called us as a social infrastructure, and what it means in terms of value, what we can bring as value to you is easy storage, easy indexing, easy encryption, and obviously like being able to build it on React Native or on a mobile app environment, or also in a web browser. So we really want to make it as global as possible. And so in this graph, you kind of understand in a nutshell what we are and what we do. So basically, we are an SDK that facilitates two tech stack, which are Ceramic and Lit. And Ceramic, everything that you do on Orbis is ultimately stored on Ceramic. We really value the core benefits of Ceramic, which are the mutability of the data, the composability of the data, and also the openness of the data. And for those three benefits, we thought that building a social infrastructure, a social graph on top of Ceramic was the best choice ever. And so this is why we built Orbis, and this is why we are also building it for a year, more than a year now. Before doing this infrastructure, we started Orbis in 2021 as a platform that was kind of a Twitter, Discord combined together, and much more like a platform to consume social. And we really transform it, as we can see today, which is a SDK. So let anyone building the same features as we did in the past easily, and also offering an infrastructure that helps you on different purpose. So we make it super easy to create a profile, create a post, create private messaging, and I will share a bit more about that later on. To store it easily, you don't even need to tap into different libraries, like the SDK of Orbis does it all. And we also enable very interesting indexing logic with the blockchain or with the Ceramic data. For example, you can say, I want to gate this discussion if I hold a specific credential, or if I hold a specific token or a specific co-op, whatever. Basically, we combine the social features with those logic and make it easy for you. I will show you how it can be done in development, and basically you can query those functions or those content very easily. So in concrete, as I said, user profile, content feeds, and private messaging are the three pieces of things that you can do. We really see this as social bricks. It's kind of a Lego game where you have those bricks all combined together. You can basically build a full application, a full social media app. And if you just want some pieces in your existing application, it's also something that you can value and use and develop it super quickly. Some of the things that our partner are working with us, and some of the data that you can see about the protocol itself, it's almost today more than 200,000 social interactions in total for all the partners that are in the Orbis ecosystem. Around 11K profiles and more than 2 million streams indexed into the logics. We have kind of different, three types or categories of partners. We have communities, so people that had a community on Telegram and Discord, and then they transfer it into a full their own application, like CoinEasy, for example, or Songbird, that are basically a mini social media for a specific community. You have also Shilling Points, so a team from Gitcoin that created a forum, and this forum is fully powered by Orbis. And you have various different cases. You have also identity and reputation, and basically the skeleton of the profile for some projects are the Orbis profile, and they added on top of that other stuff. I will share this just if you want to scan those those different clients of the Orbis ecosystem. If you want to try it out, see about yourself and see how it works. But at least in this short presentation, you can understand that we are a social infrastructure. We have different communities and partners that are building on top of us, generating those KPIs. And ultimately, this is what you can build. And so what I wanted to do today is doing a bit of deep dive on what concretely you can do with Orbis, and also what kind of resources do you have in order to make it happen. So, and again, if you have any questions, feel free to share in the chat. I'm not really reading it at the same time, so feel free to interrupt me, or I will respond it at the end. So we have a documentation on our website that almost like encapsulate everything that I shared, but with much more details, obviously.
I'm sorry, sorry to interrupt,
go ahead.
Charles. I'm just wondering, because maybe the screen froze, or maybe that's what you wanted to show, but right now, at least for me, it's still stuck on social building blocks.
Oh.
So since you just mentioned the docs, I was just wondering, just in case you switched. Sorry about that. And one of the questions was,
right.
And one of the questions was more about like sharing the slides after, but we can see that detail at the end. Sorry about that.
No, thanks, because I thought that you were seeing the docs. So yeah, I will share the slides, and obviously I'm more than happy to answer the question. So the documentation is really like the backbone of what you can learn about Orbis and also discover and do with us. So in the documentation, you have two important space where you can find relevant content for you. I will first go in the SDK reference and then to the quick start section. So as I said, and especially in the context of this hackathon, there is multiple partners there. You have Leads, you have Ceramic, you have Intuition, you have Disco, you have Gitcoin, you have many different partners. And the cool stuff with Orbis is that you can, at some point, like combine them together or use Orbis as a complementary tool to what you will do with these other protocols. So I'm going to share very different examples that can be actually useful for you. The first one is the profile. So if you want to create, for example, a profile that gather different credentials, as well as maybe something that generates a reputation based on different signals. I know that Newcoin is also doing this proof of creativity that can be gathered around a profile. So, okay, but if you want to create a profile, what you should do like in a normal case is creating your database, starting to store the information of users into this database, and being super centralized, controlled by your your platform. If you want to do it in a decentralized way and bring the control back to the user, you can use Orbis for that. And so what we do with our SDK is letting you like create a very rich profile that brings those signals together. What I mean by that is when you create a profile on Orbis, you can gather credentials, you can gather private information, so encrypted informations. You can also gather very basic, like a PFP, bio, and description. Maybe if I share it here. So this is one of the demo. I will share plenty of resources after that, but this is a perfect example. This is a demo of a discussion chat on Orbis. You can see here a profile. You can see in this profile that my ENS domain is automatically fetched or query in the blockchain. We do that via the SDK. Let me do in this one. We have a PFP that is basically we query same the blockchain to see if this user have any NFTs that we can attach to its profile and its PFP. A description, credential. So imagine, for example, that you can query credentials to Gitcoin, you can query credentials to Disco, etc., and gather the hits around the profile. And obviously also your social graph is attached to you, so to the user profile, like the followers and following. This is one example of something that you can do with Orbis. Instead of starting a database by yourself, etc., you can really create this decentralized identity for your users using Orbis. And so you have all the functions to make it happen extremely simply on the documentation. You can also add encrypted emails. You can, for example, set email. You can have, as I said, the PFP, the PFP as an NFT, and some other informations. It's really modular, so you can add any other data that we didn't describe here in the data field. So imagine that as a skeleton for user profile that offers decentralized identity to your users. So it's one use case, pretty common with our partners. So if you want to try it out, this is one example. Any question?
I think keep going, Charles.
Yeah, okay. The second piece of content I wanted to share is create a conversation, create a chat, for example. So if you want to start it from scratch and having, for example, token gated chat where only people who owns a specific token can share content on it or decrypt a content based on the token they own. This is one example here that you can do that. So here, what you can do is with this function in the SDK is create posts. It's very straightforward. And basically what you can do here is having the information, so the content, the body, etc. listed. And you can also have the encryption rules here. And what you can see is that basically we facilitate the encryption or the access control conditions from Lit. So this is one thing that we enable directly within the SDK. So it's also a cool way to work on Lit via Orbis. And this is really built in the SDK, and we handle directly the encryption. So if I take the example of, again, this discussion chat here, you can see here that the discussion feed is gated. What we mean by that is only the people that own a LuxRare credential, an OpenSea credential, or X2Y2 credential can access this chat. So here I cannot share a message, I cannot post anything. It's not encrypted, so I can still see it. But this is the kind of logic that I shared at the beginning, like what our infrastructure lets you do. And instead of query the blockchain, do the credentialing, then like do everything from scratch, we just make it super easy for you to do that with some function. So this is one example as well, credentialing, token gating or credential gating access in order to post a message in a conversation. So this is something it's enabled also in this section in the doc. And the last maybe example that I wanted to share before sharing demos and actual like real demo of our product and the protocol is the conversation. I know that I received some question either on Twitter or X and Discord about private group chats. So private group chat are possible on Orbis. Same, you don't need to store the data. The data is directly stored on Ceramic. What you just need to do is query specific or use specific function, query those results, and you have a private group chat. So one example of doing it is on the SDK, you have the function create conversation. So create conversation is basically you set a record saying that all those wallet address can encrypt or encrypt content within this conversation. Imagine, so you start a new conversation, you have only 2 addresses that can read this message. If you want a third address to join those conversation, you can. And basically you update the conversation. And based on those rules, so the recipients of the conversation, you have a conversation that is encrypted, or all the messages that will be shared into this conversation will be encrypted or uncrypted based on who are able to see it. So 2 functions to make it happen: create conversation and send messages. And basically with those 2 functions, you have a fully viable private messaging feature into any website or application that you can use and play with. I pause a moment just to recap and re-explain what I shared about Orbis. So this SDK reference lets you like build what I described at the beginning, like the core primitive of a social layer in any application can be built here. From the profile, so the skeleton of a profile, encrypted, public information, credentials can be done here. You can play with conversation chats, encrypted or uncrypted, or just gated based on conditions or rules. It's possible also with Orbis. And the last piece is you can create private chats, encrypted chats with a group of people, and this is also possible on with the SDK of Orbis. So the SDK reference are on our docs, and the cool stuff that we launched is the quick start section. So for the quick start section is basically us doing open source code to let you build way faster than if you need to start from scratch. So you have here 4 templates. One which is a mobile application, so a basic feed of messages in a fully like in an expo template that you can run on easily, fully built in React Native. You have a forum template, you have an upvote template, and everything here is open source and accessible in our GitHub repository. So for example, you have the forum template here, and you can fork it, start with it, and see exactly how we handle the Orbis SDK into a concrete project. One open source template has been used by the team from Gitcoin, and we really like carefully collaborated with them in order to build this specific forum for the ECC chaining points. You can see here that everything that is being done here is based on Orbis. So you can create posts. Some sections are gated based on the Gitcoin passports. You can see the profile, the Orbis profile, and basically this entire forum here is fully open source. So it's also a cool way to potentially create a new experience for this hackathon where you combine things together. And what I like to share is really about this passport. So I'm using definitely a new wallet, so you cannot really see some points from Gitcoin here. But I think this is what is interesting when you start to combine the protocols together in order to enable new kind of experience. So here it's a forum gated for Sybil resistant people or like real people, and it's basically working with a Gitcoin passport on this one. If you want to see how we created the post, also some details here, it's open source again, and you can really start from it and make it your own. Maybe I can pause, maybe there is some questions.
Just a little comment from me. Hi, Sofiane here.
Yeah.
Love the enthusiasm, love the product. It's very clear, so that's maybe why there are not so many questions. I guess maybe to follow up on this, maybe going a bit more into the implications in terms of like, you know, what does it mean to deploy the SDK as a developer?
Yeah.
What are the kind of like, you know, steps? Because like, I think everyone is sold on like what it can do and all those things. So yeah, that would be my kind of question.
So maybe about, so basically what is the next step, or what could be the dependencies, or what is exactly the question, Sofiane, about the
yeah exactly, like kind of a little overview of the getting started and like you know, what does it mean to deploy? Do we need to have our own like ceramic node, or do you have that already, and so on, like this kind of questions.
Okay, for sure. So maybe one thing that I shared, and I want to share about this, our main goal and what drives us every day at Orbis is how can we enable those new technology, those concepts that sometimes are pretty blurry or hard to grasp, and make it extremely simple to start with. And so when you start on Orbis, you kind of need just a bit of knowledge in JavaScript, for sure, because the SDK is mostly written in JavaScript. We have also TypeScript SDK that you can play with. So both languages that are available. And to start the SDK is basically like you install the SDK, the node. So maybe I can reshare the presentation that I shared at the beginning, but basically we have a node that is directly integrated into the infrastructure. So you don't need to care about that. If you want a node to store the data, the information, the data of your project in your specific node, you can. But most of the people that are building with Orbis and partnering with us are using our node just because it's simpler to do that this way. And so you don't need a node. You just need to install those packages, choose what you want to build. And basically, if you want to build on React Native or React or classic React, it's based also on the use case that you want to achieve. And yeah, you can start it. There is no fees, so that there is no pricing points using Orbis. And so you don't need to worry about like what I need to pay in order to use this SDK. For now, it's fully free to use it. The nodes, we are taking care of the cost on our side, sorry. And yeah, initialize the SDK, and you can really start with it. The cool part also is using the Orbis SDK, and if you're also combining with Lit, for example, on another project, or even Ceramic, you can use this connect function, so connect v2, that lets you automatically create a decentralized identity in the Ceramic network, and also create an encrypted key on the Lit network. So those two options, so passing the true, so example, so we share a lot of examples as well. If you want a wallet connection, a MetaMask connection, even you can even build on Solana if you want. But this is an example where The provider here is Ethereum Windows, so using MetaMask. If you want lit, so encrypted functions, you pass it through here, so true instead of false. And the user will automatically have a decentralized identity attached to its wallet address. One thing that I feel is interesting for me, and I feel this is also one of our key differentiator, is that everything that you do on Orbis is you are able to see in live what is going on the Ceramic network. So if I do this example, for example, like, let me go to okay, let me do a simple post here. So let me say, hey. I'm not saying anything. Okay, so I'm sharing a message here. So it's me, my wallet, my user that shares a message into the network. And we created Cerscan. And Cerscan is basically a Neterscan for Ceramic. And you can see everything that is going on the Ceramic network in real time. And you can see here that my post is now stored on the Ceramic network, available to the network to read it. You can see that my message is here. And so if you remember what I shared about the SDK reference, you can see the body, the context, dimension, etc. So you can see my hey. The schema, so the standards that I'm using to share this message, already determined by the SDK. And so you have a proof of my wallet sharing this message. It's also core value of sharing in an open network is that you can prove that someone actually shares something in the network. And so this is also a cool way when you try your application and test it out, you can see in real time what is happening into the network by seeing Cerscan. Me, I'm taking this example is imagine if you can see into WhatsApp infrastructure and backend in real time and see that what you shared is actually encrypted. It's exactly like the feeling that I would love to have as a user. Like if I'm sharing something that I want to be encrypted, I kind of trust WhatsApp to do it, but I have zero proof of them doing it. Here you can really see if the content is encrypted or not encrypted. And so, for example, if someone share a private message into the network, so here, so someone shared on Orbis a private message, you can see here that the content has been encrypted and only those two wallet addresses can access the message. So it's exactly the example that I shared. Imagine if you can see the WhatsApp backend to see that the content is actually encrypted. And this is using lead protocol for make it happen.
Super cool, Charles. Thank you so much. It's really, really clear. I was wondering if there's any final questions. Okay, I see a question from Simonas. Is it possible to issue verifiable credentials using your SDK?
Yes. Yes. So two things. You can query credential. So any credential that are stored on Ceramic can be queried by using this specific function. So you can say get credential deed, so a specific deed, and you can query automatically the credentials. To create a credential, it's possible, but not as straightforward as the other functions that we launched in the past. I can definitely share a step-by-step, but what it means is here you can create a free-form documents. Imagine, for example, that you create a free-form document without a standard, so no standard. But if you respect, for example, the credentialing standard, the schema of credential, basically our indexing will pick it up and you will be able to query it by get credentials. So technically, yes, it's possible. Is it simple as the others? No. But I can share a step-by-step to guide you on this.
I'm kind of wondering on this thought, Charles, would it be possible? I don't know if it's possible, but if you actually create that with Disco, And could you link the Disco, because it's very easy to kind of issue your credential? And could you take that and put it in the profile that you explained earlier? Like, would that be possible?
Yeah, exactly. It could be fully possible. And this is what I wanted to say also. This is why I choose those use cases today. It's pretty exciting, this hackathon, because it combines so many protocols that are going in the same direction. And with Orbis, what at least you can do is gather all those informations and signals into a single place. So, for example, you create a profile. So let me share again this demo. So this is the profile of NDR, and you can see those credentials here. So instead of those credentials, you could definitely use the API of Disco in order to query those credentials, store them back to the user profile or link them back to the user profile, and being able to see them into a single profile where everything is collected and gathered around. So yeah, it's possible. Same for Gitcoin Passport, for example. You could have like a master profile with a username, a PFP, some private information, whatever, and credentials from all places gathered in one place.
Awesome. Did that answer your question, Simonas? Or sorry, I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. I said that also last time. Is there any final questions before we have the closing words? Harshil or Anon said a step-by-step specifically for this would be super helpful, Charles. I don't know, Harshil, did you want to explain a bit what you're building? I mean, I know we're running out of time, or you can just DM maybe Charles. Is that okay if the builders DM you directly? Or
yeah. You can also share it here. And the step-by-step is about the credential, like issuing credential, or the step-by-step is to gather all the credentials from different places into one profile. Like, because I shared so many examples that I want to be sure that, okay, the later. Okay, so yeah, DM me, ask me, we have a Discord as well. Here, go to our Discord if you want to share like any questions. We share tons of open source content. For example, we recently shared an open source demo where you can log in with Leads, Web3Auth, Magic Link, Privy, and as soon as you connect, you can have like your user profile, create post. Everything is open source, so you can also take this here and see how it works and helps you on your project as well.
awesome. So you've heard Charles. Don't hesitate to go on the Discord and DM him or someone from his team. Any final words, Charles, before we close down? And thank you so much for, well, Charles, first of all, and for everyone attending and watching the recording.
So so first, I'm very excited about this group of projects and technologies combined together, because I feel like it could be something very cool for the users at the end, like having some combination of technologies that are all going to the same direction of more transparency, more verifiable reputation for users, especially in a world where everything is like so confused, like you cannot trust anyone. It's super hard to connect with others, especially with the trust of today. So yeah, I feel like it's the perfect hackathon to work on those things together with very good technologies. Use Orbis as a modular infrastructure. Think as, okay, I will use it to create something very specific to my needs. It's you can do many things with it. So yeah, use it as a Lego bricks, as I said, rather than take it all in one way. But yeah, excited to see what you are working on, and happy to answer all your questions.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Charles. And on this note, we can close down, and the recording will be available with all the partners workshops in the next 2 days. So thank you so much, everyone. Charles, merci beaucoup, and see you in Paris.
Thank you. Bye-bye.